Now we're recording. There we go. Now we're recording.
There we are.
I was just saying.
I was freaking out because the stopwatch wasn't going.
Yeah, now the stopwatch. I don't know. I thought it would be. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Yeah, been a while. That's why I'm totally confused with this interface, this new interface we're using. Should we dive right into it with the usual? As I told you, and I'm going to tell all the guys as well, because now it's actually recording. We had an intro that we just did that was not recorded, guys. This is why I just... now this is actually recording. I haven't prepared anything. It's going to be all about Alex today, because I'm very, very, very busy. But when Alex told me, I'm free for one episode, I'm like, oh my God, hallelujah, let's do one. So let's have our usual...
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Exactly. So I haven't, as well, to my big shame, I haven't actually caught up with whatever you've done on Attaché, so I don't even know what you were doing. I know from, I remember in the spring you told me that you were going to Japan. Yes. That I know you've done because I've seen some Instagram stories from Mr. Tame that you were somewhere in the Pacific Islands of Japan, so Okinawa and probably around.
That's right.
I know you have a fascination and an obsession with Ishigaki.
That's right. Also
right?
correct.
Yep. There you go. So see, I know, Alex, even though we haven't seen each other for quite a while and haven't recorded for quite a while, I know that. So I'm guessing that, for the rest, I have no idea what Alex is going to talk about today, because I know he's been traveling a bit, but I don't know in which order he wants to take it. So before I let him go on all his magnificent adventures, let's do the Genkanai thing, which is the intro music. It's good to be back.
I was going to say that takes me back. And yes, I am the one who is remiss here, because I'm the one who's been AWOL for the last several months of this podcast. So I'm sorry, everybody, that I've been... you know what? I'll show you. I can show you why I have been so consumed and so busy and unable to record. It's... I don't know if you can see that. That's all blurry because of the freaking... the faux depth of field. Anyway, my son and I finally completed the Lego Concorde over the summer.
Wow. It looks great, man.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool.
How long did it take to do that?
It took us 8 months. Now, I know normal Lego people could probably do it in a weekend, but, we were like... picking it up and putting it down and trying to find time to get together in between homework and other responsibilities to do it. But it was very satisfying to complete. And it's magnificent the way that they've built it. So I really got a lot of satisfaction.
What he showed me, because of course this is not recorded on video, it's behind him. You see it on the pictures from time to time. And also Alex does sometimes record from that exact same spot on Attaché. He has this kind of many paraphernalia behind him of about airlines, and there's this big fat like Concorde on top of it. Do you know how many pieces that was?
It's funny. My son and I went to the Lego store a couple of days ago in Leicester Square, and we were looking at it compared to some of the other kits, and it's just shy of 2,100 pieces.
Wow,
which is a lot, but there were some that were 7, 8, 9,000 pieces.
The Millenium Falcon.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And a few of the other ones. But I like this one because it has mechanical elements to it. So you can droop the nose mechanically. You can, the landing gear all comes down together and back up again. It's very clever. I admire them so much. It's absolutely beyond the scope of my understanding, but we had fun putting it together.
Is it... I know I'm going to talk like an old person. Who I am, I totally recognize. It feels to me, because I haven't done a Lego in forever, because I don't have kids probably, and I don't have the excuse of saying I need to do one. It feels that the pieces nowadays of Lego a lot of them are custom. So whereas back in the day, as a kid, I had basically all bricks, right? And you would build anything you could with bricks. Nowadays, I'm guessing there's no way to do this shape with bricks. So some of the pieces are
I think I read somewhere that whenever they develop a new kit, it's either policy or ambition to keep the need for custom pieces for that kit to a single-digit percentage.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I may have just made that up, but I do remember reading something about that in the kind of the lore of Lego, which I think is great because almost invariably my kids and I will build a Lego set. I think this one will be an exception, but we then like look at it and go, oh, that was fun, and then destroy it and put it in the big Lego bucket, which we dump on the floor on rainy weekends, and I'll just, like you were saying, do what we want. But yeah, anyway.
Does it have some branding on it? Is it like a specific airline?
It's the Concorde branding.
Oh, okay.
So it's the prototype branding, but on the box it's Airbus branding.
Oh,
because I guess Airbus
took over the exactly,
the copyright and trademark for Concorde. So it's on the box it's Airbus.
So Ed Parsons, now you have one Concorde you haven't visited, and it's at Alex's house.
There you are.
You need to go take pictures there.
I should have put a little Ed Parsons minifigure somewhere inside the airplane.
With his, I don't even know what he's shooting, Canon, Sony, whatever, like a small Ed Parsons, like taking a picture. By the way, I want to say, because I'm a keen photographer, as you know, Ed Parsons is actually selling prints of some of his air shows, pictures.
Man. They're so beautiful.
Yeah. If you're into that, he does a lot of military aircraft, air shows and others. It's on his Instagram at Parsons. That links you to a site, etc. He does some really amazing pictures.
Yeah.
So if you're keen, you should look into it. You should look into it. Yeah.
His stuff is stunning. Absolutely stunning.
So, Alex, where have you? Before I ask you where I've been, I'm also, because although I released some episodes, there were like a few other planned, and then I had a rough summer, as I already hinted at before. That doesn't matter; it's water under the bridge. But also, I am very, very, very busy with work, which had mean I have no time to do anything else but work. And when Alex told me, "Hey, Paul, let's do one," I'm like, yeah, let's do one, especially because I'm leaving this week. So we're recording on the 7th of October, 2024, and I'm leaving on Friday. So I said, let's do one before, so that explains why I haven't done, and this also explains why this one will be very, very, very lightly edited. It has to be, because I just have no time to do it, but I want to release it. So maybe even today, if I find a couple of hours later to actually release it. So there you go, you'll have an episode. So now the question that I started asking, where have you been? What travels? I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot. We have only a couple of hours, so choose wisely which ones you want to tell us about.
It has been one of those years where I feel like I've been on an airplane constantly, but actually looking at my stats in Flighty and others, it actually hasn't been. I know that it's only October, but I feel, and I think it's because the journeys that I've been taking have been complex and, for me, unique. Mm-hmm. And that feels, I think, more significant in the mind. But the one you were alluding to, that was really interesting. I went the entire way around the world this summer. Not all at once, obviously, over the space of about 4 weeks, but we had a chance. Okinawa has been on the bucket list to film since the inception of the show, and the stars aligned where I just sort of jumped at an opportunity, a scheduling opportunity, really, where Greg's calendar aligned, my calendar aligned, and I had a little bit more time than I usually do for episodes, and so budget be damned, because it is incredibly expensive to fly to Japan at the moment.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
From Europe. From the US, not so much, but from Europe, it is insanely expensive. And the irony is that I don't think it's been cheaper to exist in Japan, or at least including flying around, for 40 years because of the weakness of the yen.
Yeah.
But to get to and take advantage of that weekend, you're going to be putting out some cash.
I was supposed to go, actually, and I had to cancel. So that's why I know the pricing, because I had everything booked and I canceled for the reasons I kind of hinted at before that I couldn't. But anyway, and it is very expensive, because at some point I was like, there's other trips I do that, I'm like, I tend to remember like that in 2019 it was, or 2018 it was. And I go on my emails, I'm like, how much did I pay for this? And I'm like, oh yeah, it is actually more expensive. I mean, we know the inflation has gone through. I know there's shrinkflation though. The planes haven't gotten smaller. Maybe
not yet, but they'll find a way. They will find a way. Well, it's interesting because, yeah, you're right. There's a significant inflation impact on that. And also, of course, you can't fly over Russia. So the flights are noticeably longer and they need more fuel and resource and all that stuff. But I used, to get from London to Tokyo in the first leg of the journey, I used miles because I was going, not doing a return. And also the rest of my itinerary after Japan was still slightly up in the air, literally and figuratively.
Oh, so, yeah, remember you told me, now that you
I didn't, I was unable to book anything that was even close to being a return segment. So I used miles, and actually the redemption rate I used Avios, I used BA points to book a Japan Airlines flight. And it wasn't actually that bad in terms of the number of points, and weirdly and surprisingly, the taxes and fees were not bad at all.
Yeah. I've just done that to go to the US next week, and I was surprised. I thought they would actually kill me on taxes, and it's actually okay.
I cannot find, and I'm sure that somebody listening can explain it to me, but I cannot find any pattern, any rhyme or reason for what taxes and fees. Just tangentially, I'm going to India later this month, or actually beginning of next month, and miles on BA and Virgin, direct flights to Delhi, the miles it was 7,500 on Virgin, 50,000 on BA. Now I know they're not the same currency.
Yeah.
But the cash component, the taxes and fees were hundreds and hundreds of pounds difference. How does that work? That's what I want to know. I'm genuinely fascinated by that, what the deal is. Anyway, so that was Jal, who I hadn't flown on in a long time, long haul. And I was really looking forward to it. And I was a 777-300 out of Heathrow. And I knew as I stepped on board, I was like, this is great. I've forgotten how good this experience is. It's so much better than anything. And people, it's funny, you could hear people getting on the airplane at Heathrow who are not familiar with flying Japanese airlines, getting on board and going, this is so much better than anything that we're used to, And it's not like luxurious or anything. I was in economy. I was in a bulkhead in economy, but I think I might have even sent you a picture, but I sent a lot of people a picture like of the legroom I had. I'm 6'1" and my feet were nowhere near the bulkhead. Oh, this is nice. Just in economy, and I think it was 343 on a 777-300 with Jal. But that is your first sign that, it can be good. It can be like this. It can be comfortable on a flight like that. And the two seats next to me were initially free, and then an elderly Japanese couple were moved there by the cabin crew, and I think they were having the same reaction that they didn't speak a lick of English, and I don't speak any Japanese, but I think we were both, in our own way, remarking on how comfortable and spacious this seat was. The one, and the food, it's funny, actually, we'll contrast this a little bit later, but the food, it was a sort of 5 o'clock in the afternoon flight. So by the time you're up in the air and you've settled in and everything, and then they've done a drinks run, the speed with which they got out that first drinks run and dinner was staggering. I mean, probably within half an hour of the seatbelt sign going off, full economy drinks run and meal run. And it was all this beautiful kind of, is it omakase? Mm-hmm. Where it's all the little dishes.
Yeah, exactly. Little dishes.
In economy.
I know, man. It just makes.
It doesn't have to be fancy or faffy to be good. And every time I fly on, not every time, most times I fly on Asian Airlines, it's like, it's so easy. This obviously is cheap. It wasn't spectacular. It was, bento boxy that you would get on a Shinkansen or at a station, which are good and satisfying, Mm-hmm. Service was exemplary, attentive. The one criticism I have of both JAL and ANA that lets the whole thing down is the IFE.
I know, but that's always been the case.
Yeah.
When you use, plus we're used. I am at least used to what Middle Eastern carriers offer with like 10,000 movies. But even compared to a BA, I always found that it's very, very, very limited. What there is, there's nothing.
There's nothing.
No.
The BA and Virgin, to both of their credit, their IFE is getting better and better and better. And I feel like I even said that in an episode or two ago. They are getting better and better and better. This one was like, it was like, not only is the content breadth and depth just non-existent, but also the interface is so hilariously antiquated. And I know that Japanese UI and UX exists in a completely different dimension from the rest of us.
100%. Yeah.
It felt like you were using like a Sony DVD player circa 1995.
Betamax.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all the menus, and it was not intuitive.
I know.
It was very amusing. And, obviously I always travel with my own entertainment and everything, but it is a striking, contrast to the rest of the quality of the experience that the IFE across most Japanese carriers I've found. And it's just Japan. It's not Asia.
It's just Japan. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
There's a lot, like the gentleman next to me was watching this golf program, of which there were dozens of episodes, but if you want to watch a movie in English, you're going to struggle. There's like 5, without exaggeration, maybe 5. So that was kind of funny, but I was so euphoric from the rest of the experience and the prospect of being back in Japan again that I really just didn't care.
So where did you fly to? KIX, Tokyo,
into Haneda.
Haneda, okay.
And again, a really, really long flight because you cannot go through Russia. So you're basically going east across Kazakhstan, staying as north as you can until you get to China, and then obviously as direct as you can.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this. I think it was Joseph actually later on the trip that pointed out that there is a new approach to Haneda.
Yeah, over the city,
which affords you the most wonderful views of the greater Tokyo area.
It's been very controversial because it started runs, I think, just before the pandemic or just right when they started after. I forgot the timeline, but the proposal was actually before the pandemic, that I'm sure. And it was obviously very, very controversial because people are not used to have planes over the city in Japan, unlike us here in London, for instance. But of course, it unlocks a lot of more departures and landings in Haneda. But now it's happening, and I mean, for someone like Ed Parsons, if you like taking pictures of planes over a city, it's also nice on that direction. But I'm sure I haven't done it because I haven't been back. You must see the city in a quite very nice way from there.
You really do. You get a completely different perspective, and for someone like me that doesn't know the geography of Tokyo particularly well. It was like being introduced to the city again.
Nice.
As if you'd never been there before. So that was really interesting. I had a 2-hour protected connection to get to Naha. And we were late leaving Heathrow. Surprise, surprise.
Uh-huh.
And of course, with an extended flight time, it was starting to get a little bit tight.
Right. Yeah.
And as I was leaving the airplane, I asked one of the flight attendants, I said, "Do you think I'm going to make my connection?" She said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Naha." And she said, when? I said, "In about 2 hours." And she just went, "Ooh, I don't know about that." And I was like, "Oh, awesome." Because Greg had flown out to Tokyo a week earlier with his wife because she'd never been before. And they spent a week gallivanting all over Tokyo. And he was going to meet me at the gate for our connecting flight. And as I stepped off of the jet bridge, there was the usual crowd of JAL employees getting people to connections. And I said to the lady, "I have a connection." And she found me on the manifest. And I said, "Am I going to make it?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course you're going to make it." And I was like, "Well, who's right? Who's right?" So I was like, I'm going to err on the side of caution and hot-footed it over to immigration, which was absolutely heaving.
You know what? It's the reason, and again, I don't have context nowadays, but it's the reason I always still prefer Narita, of the guy who talks about shouting at clouds. every time I've been through Haneda, every time I've been waiting for immigration, it's always long.
It was really long. And my only experience of Narita, which was last summer, yeah, it reflects exactly what you're describing. It was empty. There was nobody there. But this time, there was no way I was going to make it. And there was somebody doing the kind of crowd herding. And I said to her, I've got a flight. And she moved me over to the diplomatic queue, which they processed me in. Because you've got to do, obviously, being Japan, you have all this paperwork to do. And
Yeah.
They've sort of moved to this hybrid model of some of it is electronic and some of it is, some of it is biometric, some of it is electronic, some of it is still physical paperwork. So
it doesn't change anything because the last time they had started, right? Because the last time I went, they had started doing that. And I'm like, oh, wow, finally they have some digital. Yeah, no, actually, you're using a machine for some of the stuff. It actually takes the same time that before having a person in front of you. And then you have to meet a person. I'm like, well, okay, so it hasn't really changed anything.
It was hilarious. And it's sort of, I see what you're trying to do, but if you still have the legacy components of this process, you're not going to fix anything. But once I was there was one person in front of me and I was through in about 2 minutes. So I had a checked bag because I wasn't going to be going home for 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I went through to baggage reclaim because you have, much like the US, in Japan, even if you're connecting to a domestic flight, you still have to collect your bag and go through customs. So
and you have to change terminal at.
You have to change terminal as well. Yeah. So I was factoring all this in and getting sweatier and sweatier. And I'm waiting for my bag. And I was able to use business class check-in at Heathrow because of my One World status.
Okay.
And the bag started coming down, and I thought, this is Japan. My bag will come out first. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I keep seeing a bag going around. I'm like, that kind of looks like my bag. And I'm like, I'm really tired. I didn't sleep much on the plane. I'm watching this bag around, also kind of spacing out, going, where's my bag? Where's my bag? Where's my bag? This is like, I'm like, do I just leave my bag or what should I do? And then after like the 5th rotation of this bag, and I was like, well, that's my bag. I'd been watching this friggin' bag. And you know what happened? I wish I had it to hand. I don't think I do. Otherwise I would show you. At Heathrow, there was some seasonal a JAL promotion that was going on, and they had put not only the bag tag and the priority tag, but this other bag tag around it.
Okay.
Which was significant in size and in color, and I thought that looks like my bag, but I know I don't have that on there. Mm-hmm. And of course, they had put it on there. Not only was it neat, but here's what's crazy about that. I'll post it on Instagram once you've posted this episode because it was really mind-blowing. It had a long handwritten note from the chap who checked me in.
What?
In Japanese and in English.
No way.
Hope you have a great flight, Mr. Hunter. Enjoy Okinawa. I hope everything goes smoothly for you. Like all handwritten on the freaking bag tag.
No way.
Yeah.
What? Wow.
And I didn't know. I thought when I glanced at it all throughout the trip, I didn't notice until I actually got home. I thought it was just printed.
Yeah, printed. Yeah.
Handwritten.
What the? Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's yeah. There you go.
I'd never seen anything like this.
No, I haven't.
I'll dig it up. I'll dig it up after this, and I'll post a picture on Instagram. Wow. But I found the bus, the transfer bus, over to the other terminal, and I was the only person on it. And you've done this a million times, but for plane people, what a great little adventure that is, because you're driving, in through the digestive system of Haneda, like in amongst the airplanes and underneath them, and then you go under the runways up to the other side, and you're going back through all the baggage sorting areas, and my face is like 95% pressed against the window and 5% looking at my phone, going, "Am I gonna make this?" But by this point, it was fairly clear that I was going to make it, and it wouldn't be a problem. And you are deposited at the ground level of the domestic terminal, and you go up, and you're there right in the thick of it. You're not going back through security or anything. You're there amongst all of the
Strangely enough, that's the terminal I know the most.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because when I was living in Japan, there was almost no international flights from Haneda. Everything was in Narita. So Haneda was a domestic plus Korea. We go to China, Korea, Taiwan, and that's about it. So I know that terminal very well.
That airport now,
I know. Yeah,
it's unbelievable the amount of the traffic and the diversity of the traffic. And I know that everybody lobbies for rights to fly there.
Yeah, and
why wouldn't you?
I know it's just a silly memory from me that only matters to me. But my usual route when I was coming back to Europe, living there, I would always take Air France, Narita, Paris, and then Paris to Geneva or to see my parents, for instance. That Paris, Narita, I just stopped last month. It's over. They're doing only Haneda.
Really?
Air France has stopped going to Narita. So it's really, for me, it's like almost a change of an era. I know it has no meaning for whoever else, but for me, it was my commute is a big term because I was not doing that every week or something. But it really shows that everybody has moved to, which makes sense. It's closer to the city. I mean, we know the reasons why, but it's, So Haneda has really grown and grown and grown, and probably, like you said, the diversity of the flags you can see on the tails must be
it's extraordinary, and just the sheer volume of traffic that was relentless. I mean, if you look on flight radar or anything like that, you can see it, especially kind of in the mornings and evenings. But it's an admirable operation, and you can see why everybody wants to go there, as you say. But the complexity of that connection made me think that if it had been any other country or airport, I probably wouldn't have made it. But because it was, and I know it's easy to say this about Japan, but because the process was so clearly defined, and also because it was Japan, so religiously adhered to in terms of timings and schedules, like the bus came exactly when it said it would and waited for exactly to the second the amount of time it said it would. And then it went, and we got there to the second when it said it would. And of course, we're not used to that in any other country.
No, when I think about the bus, for me, the bus has always been the most, the bus at Heathrow, I haven't done it a lot, so I cannot really judge. But the bus in Paris, Charles de Gaulle, which I'm like, where in the bus? Oh, well, whenever it comes, I'm like, well, really?
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely the exception. It's definitely the exception. Nice. And that terminal, I mean, I only got to experience a tiny little part of it because I popped up and there was Greg, right there waiting by our gate. And so, we hadn't seen each other in a while. So then it was onto a JAL 767. And I couldn't tell you the last time I flew a 767. And I've forgotten how much I like that airplane. It's a little bit of a time machine, isn't it? It's like being in the 1990s.
Yeah. Which feels, for some people listening that were not born in the 90s, for me, I mean, I've lived through the 90s. It's not that long ago, but actually, it's 35 years ago.
35 years ago. And I think, and I meant that in the most nostalgic way possible. It's a very positive thing. I'm just looking at how old that airplane was to say it felt like the 1990s. It was only 12 years old. It was only 12 years old, but the way that the plane is configured and there's no first class or anything like that. There may be a couple of seats at the front.
Was it JAL Express or was it?
No, it was straight. It was straight JAL.
I don't even know if JAL Express exists anymore. By the way, maybe that's something. I don't
think so. Because
they keep changing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was straight JAL. And what's interesting is that while the airplane was new, the spec of the 767 really has not evolved. So all the light is still incandescent, which gives it that yellowy 90s glow. I do too.
I love it.
The overhead bins, the monitors, it did feel like you were going back in time.
I love that. I hate these new tungsten whatever. Even in cities, when you travel, when you walk at night,
the LED, is like the white LED.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not even a thing because it could have more warm LEDs, but they put these white. Oh my god, that's why I love going to cities. Like you go to Athens and everything is still that yellow glow, and when you walk at night, like this is how a city should look like at night.
Yeah. Especially when you fly over them and you can see the sections of a city that have been that have evolved.
Yes, 100%. I think we mentioned that a few times in episodes a long time ago when you're flying over like. I don't know, Pakistan, everything is yellow, and then you move on and you see cities are more modern, like Dubai, and everything becomes like more like white. And I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want this feeling of exiting a nightclub at 4 a.m. when suddenly everything is white. I want the glow of night.
Yeah, exactly. It's not it's a very clinical kind of flight.
Yeah, 100%.
And because the flight, this was like, I don't know, maybe 9:30, 9:45 at night. There was something rather comforting and cozy about that kind of light in that cabin and everything. What was really fascinating to me was the demographic, the right word, just the type of person that was on that airplane was really interesting because, you go from, I don't know, let's say, for example, Tokyo to Osaka or Tokyo to Sapporo or somewhere like that. You are going to have a Tokyo-centric, for the most part, clientele, tidily, neatly dressed, demure. And I'm painting with broad strokes here.
Yeah, but Tokyo to Osaka is almost like a working commute.
Yeah, exactly. I think you look around Tokyo and there's certainly a look, and it's generally rather neat and everything. This was like, a Hawaiian type flight. People were in shorts and Hawaiian or Okinawa style shirts and flip flops, and it was very laid back. There were a disproportionate amount of Western faces on there because of for obvious reasons, going to Okinawa. But I thought that was really interesting, and the flight itself is not too long, about 2.5, just under 3 hours. To Naha. And by that point I was like, what's funny is that I was excited to go on this trip for lots of reasons, but one of them was going into Okinawa airport, to Naha airport, because I found 3 or 4 years ago a 4K live stream of that airport that I pull up.
Man. I remember you were telling me that your obsession, Ishigaki, that you also had found like a stream of, I don't know, the island or something.
Yeah, it was a radio station. That's how I found it.
Yeah, there you go. So see, that's corruption.
But like, I know this perspective. Like I used to have it sitting on a second monitor. Like it would be looking out the window because it was 60 frames a second. It felt quite alive. Yeah. And I was like, I'm really excited. Like, will I be able to recognize it? But by that point I was so like exhausted and cross-eyed. And that airport, you've been, right? You've been to
No, I've never been to the Pacific Islands of Okinawa and the other islands. Because of course, it's not something that I'm especially. I mean, I'll go eventually, but having been in many other places of the Pacific Islands, I'm like, this is not my primary. It's never been my primary. I know that it's the opposite. You love it. I'm like, I'll go one day. But so no, I never had the chance when I was living there. I did the rest of Japan, like everything, Kyushu, whatever. Yeah. But that no. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so the airport itself is kind of interesting because, and I'll touch on it more when I pass through again later in this journey, but. It feels kind of low ceilinged and old and not dingy is not the right word. It's Japan, for God's sakes. But it was, it had been around for a while and hadn't had a facelift to rival anything like, Dubai or whatever. So that was kind of interesting. And we got outside in 10:30 at night and got into a taxi, and I had prepared like the hotel address and kanji like on my phone ready to go. And I started to hold it up to the taxi driver, and he's like, puts his hand up to get me to stop talking. And he said, I know. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be exciting because how does he know? Anyway, let's see where we go. And he takes us, and I'm looking on the map, and genuinely we're going in the right direction. I thought, great, well, this is fine. And then eventually he pulls up to a dock next to an American ship. And he just assumed that we were like servicemen, and Craig and I are the least servicemen-y men you've ever seen in your life, So fortunately, it was about 3 minutes away from the hotel, so we resolved that rather quickly. And our gruff taxi driver thought it was pretty funny. But
that's amazing.
There are 55,000 American military personnel in Okinawa.
Yeah, I know.
So you can understand why he made that assumption.
Yeah.
And, I have now fairly concrete opinions of Naha and the greater Okinawa island, which you can go and watch the episode to dig into. But it was a very strange place. That's all. A very strange atmosphere.
Because of the American presence, I'm sure. You must
very
be.
strange, uneasy play. I mean, if you took that away, you could be in any industrial Japanese city. It's not an attractive place, Naha, at all. Obviously, the surrounding, even the northern part of the island is beautiful. We went
because of nature itself, of course. Yeah.
And it's their coral islands. We went on a 45-minute ferry to Paradise on Zamami Island, and that was stunning. That was bucolic and villagey and quiet and what you would expect. But Naha as a city was tense, and my niece's husband is he just left the Marines, the U.S. Marines, and was stationed in Okinawa for a year and a half. And he told me beforehand that he found Naha to be a deeply unpleasant place.
Okay.
By Japanese standards.
Yeah, of course. No fun.
But that dissonance is palpable and uneasy and quite unpleasant in certain circumstances. You will be treated very differently if you look like there's any possibility that you could be in the military.
In the military. Yeah, I know. It's always been a matter of debate in Japan amongst the population.
I can understand.
The government itself, there's many reasons why they hosting U.S. military bases, but the population is very divided on their presence.
Yeah. And I can understand that. But I also appreciate that this is not a foreign policy podcast.
Exactly. So there you go.
So I will get back to airplanes because we filmed in Naha and in Zamami. It's great. Went back and we had a daytime flight. Joseph Tame, our dear friend and producer and fixer and drone pilot extraordinaire. He is an ANA loyalist.
Yes, I know. I know.
He flew, we raced from Naha to Ishigaki. He flew on ANA, which actually turned out to be on Solaseed Airlines.
Never heard about those guys. Is it like one of these only for the island type of airline?
It's owned by ANA. They're the one with the bright green tail.
Oh, yeah.
Winglets. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, okay.
And so he was on them and we were on Japan Transocean Air.
Nice.
Yes.
I love just the name.
I have always wanted to fly on that.
I think you did when we did an episode on Ishigaki on this podcast. I'm pretty sure.
Probably. And in fact, we did. You're right.
Yeah. And you mentioned that name. That's when I first heard about that name. Just the name has this echo of the 40s, 30s of airlines that supposedly do not exist anymore. You know what I mean? Just a name.
It's because it's sort of like, of course, all airlines are transoceanic now, because they can. Yeah. But you're right. It's such an evocative name, and that is exactly why it is. I had never thought about that, but it's owned, I think, if not completely, but the majority of it is owned by JAL.
Okay.
And it wasn't a JAL flight number, but it wasn't even a code share or a joint venture. Anyway,
what aircraft was it?
737-800.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
Naha Airport is fascinating because it is also a joint military base. So you have the Japan Defense Force. Is that what it's called? Self-Defense Force. And they've got helicopters and some maritime surveillance jets and everything like that. And then you also have an American presence as well. So you've got F-18s. And that was one of the most disconcerting things about being in Naha. That it felt creepy, to be honest with you. As you're walking around the city, every 5 minutes, there would be the unmistakable roar of military jet aircraft.
A fighter jet. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Fighter jets taking off. You couldn't see them weirdly because of the routes they took. But
Yeah, but you hear them because
you hear them
yeah,
constantly, and then drone patrols and V-22s, Ospreys flying around everywhere. It was very sinister. But you're sitting there waiting for your plane to board and everything, and you're seeing A-10 Warthogs taking off and Black Hawk helicopters landing and constantly taxiing and is it the Skyhawk? There's a Japanese co-manufactured or licensed jet trainer / military. Somebody will
when it comes to military aircraft.
Oh, I know. I'm so bad. I'm so bad. But it is, for AV geeks, especially military AV geeks, it is constant traffic of.
Well, there you go, Ed. You should go there to take some pictures. Though I'm not sure. Am I taking pictures there? Maybe I'm not.
I'm not so sure either. But of course, the joy of the boarding process on Japanese airlines
takes a second and a half, and everybody's seated, and all
everybody's
stuff.
Seated. Nobody gets up until their boarding group is called.
I know.
Glorious.
That's why the turnaround times there must be the best that anywhere. I don't know that. I don't know how long. Is that it's not a low cost, this one, right? It's a regular airline.
Japan Transocean.
Yeah.
Or Transocean. It's regular. So we were in these sort of, I don't remember what the name was, Comfort Plus style old domestic business class seats.
Nice.
It was pretty sweet. And the crew were just so bubbly and friendly and
that's nice,
laid back. And the purser, they did this kind of like duty free run, and I bought my daughter this JTA beach towel.
Nice.
Because all the planes are painted like marine life, a little bit like the ANA A380s.
380s, yeah.
And so I bought my daughter, and she came and spoke to me in immaculate English. The rest of the crew hardly spoke any English at all, but she had studied in the US for a year on an exchange program, and brought me like these little postcards of JTA and all this other like stickers and stuff as well. So it was you don't get food or anything, but they do a tea run and water and all of that stuff.
How long is the flight for?
Just under an hour.
Okay, yeah.
Because you're already quite far south, and Ishigaki is at the very south of the Okinawa archipelago. Yeah, it's the southernmost point in the Yama Islands. So it's actually reasonably quick, and there are all these services that go from Naha down the islands if you want to on like Ryukyu Air, and they've got
more like a hopper type of
exactly. Yeah. I know, yeah. And then into Ishigaki where Joseph was waiting for us.
So he beat you.
He beat us. We were late. He was not late.
So how was your return to your obsession, Ishigaki? Did you? I mean, I know you love that place.
Yeah, it was great. It was wonderful. We stayed at my friend's house. He's got a traditional Okinawan house there, which we stayed in. We had an excellent time filming. We took an impromptu helicopter trip.
Impromptu? That's bullshit. You always do a helicopter trip every
it's
time.
Funny. Greg and Joseph went off to do some drone flying, and for the stuff like that, I'm utterly superfluous. Like, there's no point in me being involved at all. What the hell am I going to add to anything like that? So I went and got a coffee and sat down on this beautiful little grassy area overlooking the water, and I'm flicking through this brochure of like touristy stuff to do in Ishigaki, and there's a helicopter company, and I was trying to pull up the website. I couldn't really understand it. And I mentioned it to Joseph and Greg, and both of their eyes lit up, and Joseph's like, I'm on it. And he calls them up, and we go over to this tiny little hangar, nowhere near an airport. It's just a little one hangar with a single heliport. And they were so friendly and excited. And we jumped on this little Robinson and flew around for about an hour all around the Yayama Islands. And that was great.
Fantastic.
And it was quite difficult to coordinate the return because Joseph was obviously going home to Tokyo.
Yep.
Greg was going back to London.
But through Tokyo as well.
Through Tokyo early the next day. And I was going that evening onto the next leg of my journey, west or east, towards the date line, depending on how you want to look at it. And so we were all trying to make sure. So Greg and Joseph ended up going on ANA into Haneda and had some unfinished business at Yodobashi they needed to take care of. So they both went into Yodobashi. I flew on JAL into Haneda. Again, using mileage redemption, and that was so easy and so straightforward. Unlike ANA, Joseph was explaining, they do this sort of points. Maybe you'll know more about this.
No, it's just I don't know what you were about to say. Sorry, I interrupted, but it's just that every time I tried, and this was the case for the trip I was supposed to take, it then cancelled. It went through mileage, and I go because I still have this huge bank of miles and more, so Lufthansa miles, which allow me to use on ANA. So on Star Alliance, and my God, the ANA website is cryptic, and even understanding when you see the redemption charts, understanding how to, it's just mind-blowingly difficult. Whereas on JAL, it seems like it's because also I have like you have a lot of AVOs, plus I can use the Amex points, whatever. On JAL, it's more like straightforward. I understand that the redemption for this, it will get me an economy ticket, and that's it, right? Whereas ANA's cryptic as hell.
And you can't do round trip. You can't do one-way tickets on ANA. Internationally, domestically, I think you can, but it was so complicated and convoluted, as you alluded to, that for Greg's flight, I actually ended up booking it through United because it was way easier.
Oh, you went through United to book him the flight?
To book him the ANA flight from Ishigaki to Haneda.
To Haneda, yeah.
And I had no problem on JAL. It was easy enough to do it, and our flights left around the same time from Ishigaki. But I had time, so I dashed into Tokyo once I got to Haneda. And that was another 767, very easy, smooth, lovely, airplane. But you really forget, and I had forgotten how close Haneda is to Tokyo.
Yes.
If you're trying to get anywhere in the south side of Tokyo proper, you can do it in 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're next door. Yeah.
Yeah. On the monorail, it's so easy.
It's very, very practical. Which I understand why it's so popular for people, because Narita is an hour away by a train, right? So it's probably better for the eastern side of the city to go to Narita, but in general, it's just Haneda just easier.
So I only had about 7 or 8 hours, but it was a no-brainer because they have those coin lockers, so I was able to dump all of my check.
So you went into Tokyo. When did you go?
I just went and had some sushi and relaxed for a little bit. I didn't really have
that's good.
An agenda. It was hot and really crowded with tourists.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I mean, hot. It's always been. I've heard that this summer was particularly hot, but it's always been. I remember July, August were always like 38 Celsius, 40 plus with a humidity levels very high. So it's like, my God, it's like Southeast Asia, basically. It's a city.
Yeah, it was.
But I'm hearing as well. So the numbers in terms of tourism they were at the level of 2019 at the beginning of the year, and now they're basically beaten.
I can believe it. I can believe it. I think with the yen being as cheap as it is.
A lot of Americans.
And it was a Saturday as well, so people were also going about their business as well. So anywhere retail, leisure was rammed.
Well, the US, the US has such a strong dollar that even in Europe, you saw a lot of people coming from the US because the dollar is so strong that everything feels even cheaper for them elsewhere. Whereas if you base your currency out of euro or pound here, even the yen is cheap, but not as cheap as if you had dollars.
No, and you could see that or hear it actually in the voices and accents of people. But it was overwhelmingly crowded, and I just ended up after a while of. I had been in Japan for a week, and so I felt I didn't need to rush around and go to Family Mart a million times. But I went back to the hotel, checked in.
Oh, so you slept a night?
No. I just was there for a few. Sorry, not hotel. I went back to the airport.
Oh, there you go.
And I checked my bag in, which is all such a straightforward and easy process. Before you leave Japan, because I know that's what you're about to do, and I don't know where you're going actually. But before you do, and we
But have you seen that, since you were talking about military, have you seen that bomb that exploded on the runway at Miyazaki Airport, I think?
Unbelievable.
That's in Kyushu. That's in, wow. Like, but what, so I've read the bomb was like, they say, 500 pounds or something?
Yeah.
It's a big fat ass bomb, right? And it was buried under the runway, and I think it did a crater of like 7 meters, whatever. But what I get, of course, but the runway has been built over and over. So the first guy, when they first built the runway, they didn't realize it was like a huge fat ass bomb, just because, we're not talking like that deep, as in, when you build a runway, you have all these layers of stuff, rocks and asphalt and whatever. Man, and it just exploded out randomly. There's
it
a video
been
online.
a disaster.
Oh my God. It's just crazy, man.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, that was. I had forgotten it was in Miyazaki. Yes.
Yeah, that's south of Japan. So not as south as you were, but like in the main bit of Japan that everybody sees in your head as a picture. There's a bit that is south. Maybe not the most south. But that's in Kyushu on the east side of Kyushu. Yeah. Anyway,
Jeez.
So where did you go from there?
I flew to Honolulu.
Is that not what you did last time with Megan? That you
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's what. Okay,
We
good.
went, and so
From one Pacific island to another, basically.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice warm weather tropical few weeks.
Nice.
But I spent most of my time at Haneda, not in the lounge, which was really, really crowded because
Who
one
you
of
were
them
flying
was
with again,
closed.
Jal?
With Jal, yeah. But on the observation deck, the
on the
huge,
top.
massive,
I know.
which was also, and I loved this, so crowded.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like it was such a balmy, lovely evening. It was busy. It was great to see so many people out there enjoying it.
Yeah, that's one of the best observation lounges you can find, I think.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that
Decks,
place
or
was
observation
great.
decks. Yeah, it's great. Because it's very, very big, and you have like a pretty wide 180% view.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's fantastic. So I was really happy to see so many people out there. But it was, I that night, I think the flight was about 10 p.m. JAL, like there is a rush of flights from all over Japan and actually Korea as well to Hawaii. The amount of traffic is staggering that goes between those two regions. And I was just part of that queue. It was a Dreamliner. I had another bulkhead.
Nice.
And again, it was sort of the same kind of people that were on my Okinawa flight, either tourists going to Hawaii from Japan or people going back home.
How was the legroom for the economy bulkhead there? Yeah, nice.
Yep. Not as good as the 777.
Yeah.
Not as good as the 777, but it was good. And it was actually, it was two seats.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's a slightly narrower fuselage than a 777.
Yeah, of course.
But it was a night flight. I wanted to sleep as much as I could because you landed the same morning.
Yeah, I know.
You actually arrived before you left because of the timeline, the international.
You know, the last time I did that timeline thing was to meet you in California.
Oh, California, yeah.
The last time I did it, yeah. It was very weird when you arrive before you.
It doesn't get old.
Your brain is, and on the other end, you're like, that day, I never enjoyed that day. Where's that gone?
Yeah.
So
you don't get it. Yeah, exactly. Whereas you get the day twice on this like. It is quite. It's
weird. It
is a very weird thing, and you have to think about it quite hard to make sure your brain doesn't big. I wanted to sleep as much as I could, so
good.
But what's funny is that I was raving about the food on my flight from London. The food on this flight was inedible.
Oh my God.
It was so bad. I want to know more about this, but there's this wonderful, I don't know if I would call it an obsession, a Japanese fascination with Italy.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do. I know that Italy is not only about pizza, but the pizzas that you can have in Tokyo are probably the best in the world.
Amazing. Yeah. But even in a
friends from Naples, do not send me though.
Oh, I know. You'll hear about it. Believe me. You look at like the language and like a lot of the soccer teams and baseball teams have Italian sounding. They don't mean anything, but they are Italian sounding names because there's this. I don't know what it is. I would love to know more about it. Anyway, it was this quote unquote Italian food, and it was so gross. These like meatballs that were, oh God, it was foul. Luckily, I had eaten at the airport and I wasn't hungry in the slightest. But
that's rare though. I would have not associated a flight with a Japanese airline with really inedible
it was so
food.
weird.
Well.
And there weren't really any options. Like I couldn't go, no, I'll have the Japanese option, please. It was just like, oh, we're going to the West, so we should do something quote unquote Western, yeah. It was so gross. But that flight is only 7 hours, just under 7 hours from Tokyo to Honolulu. And since I had done this last year, I knew what I had ahead of me because I was connecting to another domestic flight.
Okay. Yeah.
And I knew that, obviously again, US, but I used this time the new US mobile passport app.
Oh yeah, I've heard about it. We talked about it like years ago, and apparently that fastens the immigration process.
It was really good. I don't have global entry because I don't want to pay for it, and B, you have to go and do a registration and an application in person. Yeah, and ain't nobody got time for that.
I've heard. But of course, you won't be able to tell me because you have a US passport. I've heard that this mobile passport thing also is valid for ESTA holders.
Yes,
so
correct.
So I'm going this Friday. So I think I will try to onboard whatever my passport to it to see if I can make it work.
I reckon you should.
Because JFK, I'm landing at JFK. It's always, some days you go through and some days you wait 3 hours. So if I can have a chance to go faster, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to talk about this trip on today, but I just did a trip to the U.S. Last month and used it at JFK, and it did exactly what you would hoped it would do.
Okay.
So I would definitely recommend it. And
I will do it.
You pre-fill all of your information that you would as if you were filling out an immigration form. And then when you land, you submit the information.
Yeah, okay.
And it took me, I don't even know if I broke stride going through the thing. You show them your like a QR code, I think, and your passport, and they glance at it and go, yeah, no problem, fine. My bag was off quickly. You walk through to the domestic departures area where England were in the second half of their game against Spain in the Euros. So I sat there on tenterhooks waiting for the inevitable capitulation that follows all English football. But it was quite a fun atmosphere there. And I jumped on a Hawaiian 717 service to Maui.
Oh, 7-1. Nice.
Yeah.
I've never done that one, I think.
Yeah. Hawaiian have these, I think I talked about it the last time I did this, but Hawaiian have this fleet of intra-island 717s that are like tanks. They throw those freaking things around. Oh my God. Like, not only are they taxiing them like a New York taxi driver, they're power sliding into the gates and all of that. And going, come on. They fly them like they're a freaking fighter jet. You're taxiing to the runway at like 45 miles an hour. Everybody's very laid back. The flight attendants are sat down gossiping, and they take the thing off into the sky and bank hard because you're facing the wrong direction, and to where you want to go. So you're banking hard over Honolulu. If you weren't awake beforehand, you are awake now. So, and the flight to Maui is like 20 minutes. So you're never above, I think maybe 12,000, 15,000 feet.
Yeah. So it's,
they still managed to do a drink run.
Yeah. Nice. Well, see, did they, was it like economy? There was any special seats for that?
No, was I in an exit row? Yeah, I was in an exit row this time.
Okay.
In economy. And, it didn't really, it's 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. No, but I was just curious.
Yeah.
Did not Hawaiian, was it not just bought by someone?
Yeah, they were bought by Alaska, and I think it was just approved by the DOT.
Yeah, that's what I think I read last week in passing. Oh, well.
So they'll become a part of One World.
Yes, that I know, but do you think the brand name will survive?
Oh boy, I sure hope so.
I hope so. Alaska and Hawaii also looks very strange.
Yeah,
just in terms of geography.
Yeah, I really do hope it's a lovely livery and identity.
Exactly. It's very specific. I mean, it's very odd in a good way. it's non-traditional, so I hope it stays. But let's see. Anyway,
I sure hope so. I don't know what will happen otherwise. But
so then Maui was the holidays, I guess.
Maui was holiday.
Nice.
Switch off, not do anything, relax
Good.
for a little bit.
And then I'm sure. So then you probably, since you say you did the round of the world, so you probably went to the US. Is that?
I did. I spent 2 weeks in California. That was I flew Southwest, who I still remain a fan of, from Maui to Oakland in California. And it was on a MAX 8. And I still feel uneasy on those airplanes.
Look, I've never done the MAX. I'll probably, almost certainly, do my first one in 2 weeks. So let's see.
I will be very interesting.
If I survive.
Yeah.
I might bring my wrench, but since there was no bolts anyway, the wrench is useless. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, let's see. I don't know how I feel about it yet. So I was just like, I said, yeah, whatever, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
I'll tell a story when it comes. It should be happening. It's like, let's say 90%.
I didn't hesitate to book it based on the fact that it was a MAX.
Same.
But I don't know what it is. There's something about it. Southwest is great. Those planes are comfortable, free, fast Wi-Fi, good service. The flight was on time. It's, again, you've experienced this. I've experienced this. For me, it doesn't go away. The fact that you are flying for 5.5 hours and there's not a speck of land.
It's strange, huh?
It is strange. It's
weird.
quite disconcerting in a way. But
yeah, for us in Europe, when you travel, there's always something.
Yeah, there's not a rock. There's no little uninhabited. There's nothing. For thousands of miles. But I do like them.
Yeah. I'll see. They just announced that they will start having like seating. Like you'll have to choose your seat. Like probably like what EasyJet did. Like 20 years ago. I don't remember. What it was. At some point, EasyJet could just sit anywhere, and now you have to book your seat. I think they're going to do the same. Let's see what happens with that.
The reason I chose Southwest is A, because of the timing, and B, because you get 2 checked bags for free.
Yeah, well, there you go.
The other airlines that service that route, I think United and Hawaiian and Alaskan, $150.
There you go.
And the prices were the same for the fare, so why wouldn't I? But I'm looking forward to hearing your visceral response to sitting and flying on that airplane for the first time.
I'll see, exactly. And I'll fly it twice actually, but let's see. I'll see.
Yeah. I've been talking nonstop for an hour, but I will wrap this up by saying
because I know another flight. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I flew Virgin back from San Francisco to London with my kids.
Was it miles as well for that one, or
no, for me it was. For them it was a cash ticket.
They went exactly.
But
I was about to say for you it would have been quite expensive to buy it only one way.
Exactly. But with miles it was actually very reasonable, and they were really good about connecting because kids can't fly by themselves. My kids or my eldest just turned 14 2 weeks ago, so now he can. But before then, I didn't have to wait very long, 5 minutes on hold, and they connected the separate reservations, and it was all very, very straightforward.
Were you able to get to the lounge in?
No, but...
No, I was just curious because I've heard, I haven't, as you guys can see, I haven't really followed the news of the airline industry in the past month and a half because I've been so busy. Did I not hear they were doing a new refurbished Virgin lounge maybe that's in LA actually.
I think they're doing it in LA.
Maybe that's LA. Sorry. Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway.
The last time I went in the Virgin Lounge in San Francisco, it had changed hands and had been. It used to be a very good lounge, and then it changed hands and was now a third party or something like that.
You told me.
Crap.
You told me.
But I had the kids, and we found a corner of the airport to park in, and they were really great on the flight, and it was very, very easy to do all that. But I only when I was sort of partway through this journey did I realize, oh my God, because I was building this journey as I was doing it. I didn't have all of that booked before I
you had
left
no visibility to be sure about what
I had no idea what was going to happen. So
because I remember you were telling me you had a potential stuff in Central America, which would have, I remember that you were telling me that.
Yeah.
You had to wait until that was confirmed or not to decide on the rest of your flights.
So I hadn't booked my flights to to Hawaii until about 4 days before I actually got there. So, but it was fun. It was a neat little experience to do, and Okinawa was great. It was lovely to fly domestically in Japan again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
For me, probably going to be Japan's going to be probably early 2025. I mean, I don't foresee. I have a few flights coming up and whatever, but I don't foresee going. And also, first of all, right now, I want to do your point earlier. I will want to avoid the most crowded seasons in Japan. By the way, I've already did that back in 2019, so it's nothing new. But so I always try, February.
Yeah.
When no one is interested. I mean, there's always going to be people, right? And also trying to get a lot bit off the beaten path just to avoid a bit like the mega crowds. But so maybe February, but I haven't decided yet. I had to cancel the one I had in the summer, so let's see whenever the one is next and whatever I'll find with a mileage as well, because I'm like you, I'm like looking ANA I cannot find, for crying out loud. It's really hard. But JAL I find in economy especially, I find quite a few over time, not like every day, but I find like some availability, because I'd rather fly them than fly BA.
Yeah.
Or I would just fly Emirates or Qatar, and there you go. And then
I mean, with the route restrictions as they are nowadays, flying via the Middle East really actually doesn't add that much.
Exactly, 100%. That's what I was. That's what. Actually, I'm wondering what Finnair is doing, because it must be arriving. You arrive at Helsinki, and then you have to go all the way up.
Down.
I guess. Do they go on the top?
Don't think so. I think you're. I think.
Yeah, maybe
I
they
think
go back down.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they have to avoid Ukraine. Then they have to. That's a lot. That's way down, and then turning over Greece or something. I don't know.
And now with everything else kicking off in the
I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Man. Just let's not talk about this, because I don't know what's going to happen going this direction. But talking, so you've done that flight, because I don't want to go. I haven't had time to prepare for any other flight. So I know you've been doing, because I've seen something. Have you not been to the Philippines?
Yes.
Tell us about that one. I don't know how. I don't know exactly where. I think I've seen a picture of you on stage. That's all the thing I know somewhere. I can't remember it. Really, I've not been on social media a lot. So maybe tell us about that one, because also I've been to the Philippines, so maybe I can add something to that story.
Well, I had never been to the Philippines.
I know. That's why I'm asking, because I know you've never been to the Philippines, because we've talked for years about you doing eventually an episode of Attaché in Manila or in any the other places, or just a Philippine episode, whatever. And it was in passing, we talked. It was never a plan, but I know you've been there, so probably for a speech, because I saw the picture and you were doing a speech. But where? How?
Yeah.
Which route?
God, you guys are going to be so sick of my voice by the end of the day.
As I told you at the start of the show, top of the show, I haven't flown a lot first, and also I haven't had time to prepare anything. So I'd rather just listen to you a little bit more, and I can add stuff about that. So I'm very curious, because
you will be able to add a lot to this, A, because of the destination, and B, because of how I got there. It was Yes, it was a speaking gig in Mactan Island in Cebu.
Cebu.
Yeah.
Oh wow, nice.
So, I again never been to the Philippines, obviously.
So you've not gone direct to Cebu, because I've been to Cebu. So you probably, I mean, let's see. There's many ways to go to get there. So let's see how you did.
So I went on Emirates via Dubai, and so my client was very generous and put me in business class the whole way, which was lovely. But then I had some miles sitting in my account.
You did an upgrade.
I did an upgrade to first on the London-Dubai leg.
Nice.
On an A380 from Gatwick, actually, as well. So it worked out beautifully, because Gatwick is much closer to my house.
And also Gatwick doesn't always have the first class on Emirates. Yep. Sometimes they have the ones which they replace the first class with economy seats. You only have the business one. So you're very lucky also to have the right type of aircraft.
I was lucky. And of course, upgrading on Emirates is such a joy. It's so easy. It's instant.
I know.
Not only is it instant to get the redemption, but transferring miles from Amex to Emirates is instant. And with other airlines, it can take days and days.
Qatar is also instant. There's a few like that. Qatar, for if you want to transfer Avios from BA to Qatar, is like instant.
I have a question about that later.
Yeah. So like I was literally, for one of the flights I've done, needed a little bit more miles on Qatar, on the Privilege Club, whatever. and I'm on the middle of the booking, so I'm still filling my name, and at the same time I'm going on BA, say transfer this on avios.com, whatever, and I transfer, and by the time it was there. So there was no like, I need to wait first for, then I might lose that booking. I was really literally doing the booking and getting the miles at the same time. So it was amazing.
Yeah, I was so impressed by that. And there was no...
But Emirates is, it's just...
No taxes and fees? No increase on that?
I know. It's amazing.
I mean, it's
lovely, man.
It's so good.
We said it many, many times. What I like the most is that it's straightforward, and you have a sense of ownership and sense of like you understand what's going on. You have like a agency over your flight. You're like, I want to book. They tell you beforehand how much it's going to cost. Tell me exactly how it's going to work, and everything is immediate. You do, and you're done. It's not like these kind of faffing around where sometimes we have to call the airline, and you're not sure of the availability. This is not a reward seat. You cannot get it. Blah blah blah. Emirates, they tell you, so you know. It's just
and not only that, you can do individual legs, like you say, without having to call.
Yes.
It's so straightforward. It's so easy. It's instant. The fare that I had meant that I could only upgrade within 48 hours of the flight.
Okay.
So I didn't know if there was I was looking at Expert Flyer. I could see that first had availability, so I was reasonably confident. But
nice.
The whole process was straightforward. They send a car to your house that picks you up.
Yeah.
At I don't know if you've done this, but I'm sure you have. At Gatwick, they have a separate, dedicated Emirates drop-off point.
Yeah, the drop-off point at the very beginning of the yeah.
I've never done it before.
I've done it many times. Yeah, it's nice because you're right next to then you enter the airport basically.
Yeah, you're there up into that wonderful lounge. Your security is easy and all that stuff. The lounge, that you have that strange bank of lounges that take up like
multiple floors.
Yeah, 4 floors,
3 floors. Yeah,
at least.
Yeah.
And
they're on top of each other, like I said.
Yeah, and of all with varying quality.
Yes.
The Emirates one is down, so you go down a floor.
Yes,
which means you don't have a view. They're windows, but they've made them slightly opaque, so you still get the lovely light, but there's no view.
Yeah, because I think it gets on nothing. I think you probably have like the
roads and
and maybe I think
ducting.
some of the exactly ducts and stuff. So that's why they
not exactly picturesque, but it's a huge lounge.
It's big, yeah,
and very well appointed, great food and all of that. The only thing that I think, doesn't really let it down, it's just not as good as Heathrow, is that you don't board from the lounge like you do at Heathrow. Is it the end of the world? No, it's not. Of course it's not.
But there's a shortcut. As I told one of the episodes, when you exit the lounge, you go back up with the elevator, and then, because all the gates are always like 558 or 5, I forgot the name, so 528 or something. And you have to, if you just follow the signs, you go through all this big, where all the people are, all the duty-free stuff are, and then you turn. There's a little shortcut just at the exit, and you directly in front of the gate, and that takes
very sure I didn't take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's just Anyway, I think I said in one episode. I think I saw one crew of Emirates walking out of the lounge, and I say, "Why is she turning left here?" So I'm like, "I'm just going to take a look." It's just after W.H. Smith. And I was like, oh my God, there's a shortcut and immediately in front of the gate. How? I didn't know that.
Wow. No, I definitely did not do that.
It doesn't matter, by the way, guys. This is just like here, we're just making details. No. Most of you don't live in London, so you don't care. Anyway, go on, please.
No, that's it. Well, the Emirates first class is, of course, wonderful. You get this suite and this throne. I actually just released a little video about this journey where I talk about it all.
Nice.
And took some videos and everything like that.
Good.
So
I will watch that. Sorry, I didn't.
No, I only just did the other day. But it's a great experience. That seat remains incredibly comfortable. That big, beautiful 34-inch screen, and the little motorized drinks cabinet that pops out of the side there. And
man, it's useless, but it's great.
It's so useless, but it's so funny and exactly. Neat to have and play with and all of that. It's interesting observation is that they come around and they give you champagne, and they make a point. They pour Veuve Clicquot on the ground, and they say, "It's Dom Perignon in the air. Don't worry." It must be some sort of
taxes.
duty taxation thing.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's the same reason why they don't do champagne on, was it US bound flights or departing flights or something like
I'm
that?
sure that, I'm sure the champagne that Dom Perignon, for instance, is boarded in Dubai, and then they don't want to pay the taxes for import in the UK. So as soon as they're in the air, it's still a Dubai duty paid, champagne. Whereas I guess it's something like that. Yeah.
But it's sort of like they're almost doing it like out of embarrassment. Like, don't worry,
exactly.
the good stuff's coming.
Yes, 100%.
It's really funny. So it's such a good experience, and it is the people, I think, the service that really makes it as good as it is. Because that was, I think, my fourth time doing Emirates first. So that initial mind-blowing novelty isn't there anymore.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But obviously it's still really good.
It's still really
excellent.
good.
But it's the service, it's the attentiveness, it's the
demeanor.
Exactly. And also,
something.
You've reflected on this many times about good in-flight service. You've captured it beautifully, because you always say they basically feed off your energy and character.
Yeah, that's so important. To get you, as in to get you. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's important. Like in every type of frontline situation, we have a customer service. Of course, more so in a first class, I guess, because supposedly you paid for it, so they want. But you have this. You understand if you're someone that is more conservative, someone is more laid back, and that's something that I appreciate a lot.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that. I'm thinking about all the times that you'd mentioned it on, not just on Emirates, but on other airlines where you'd had particularly good service. She matched my
energy,
casualness as well, and she relaxed, and the chief purser relaxed, and it was much more bantery and kind of, we were fellow enthusiasts of an experience, as opposed to, a waiter in a Michelin star restaurant, which to me, I don't really like as much.
Exactly. And by the way, this is what I said you were not, because I was with Paolo, when I flew Etihad to Cambodia. I mean, it was through Bangkok, but it doesn't matter. That's what Etihad is missing over Emirates.
I think I agree with you, yeah.
Everything is really good, like it's matching the Emirates experience, but then they stop at this matching the energy, and they stay very stoic, very good, very well trained. But I'm like, I cannot break the ice. And I'm like, I want to break the ice a little bit. I don't want you to become my best buddy, but having some kind of, like you said, whether it's banter, depending on your mood, but something that doesn't happen on Etihad, and it happens on Emirates.
Yeah, and you can tell that that's a corporate culture thing.
Yes,
and
it's a decision they took to allow
it was
them
very
to do
impressive. On top of great food and wine and all of that, and I just, whenever you needed something, they just seemed to magically appear.
Yeah, I know.
And.
Well, then again, it's first, so you'd say. They should be doing it. But I don't. When was the last time you flew Emirates? Last year. No, this year. Sorry, what did I say? No, February 1st on the way back.
There are so many iterations of their product now, not just in first, but across the spectrum, that it was really difficult to keep up with. Like the IFE didn't feel as good on this A380. There was no live TV. The quality of the content felt a little bit lower. There was the marquee products, but then everything else was sort of like TK Maxx versions of popular shows, like, well, it's like, what is this? And I'm really struggling to find negative points about the experience.
No, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean, because people know, so I can say it because we're amongst friends on this podcast. I've flown first in Emirates probably 30 times more.
Wow.
Yeah, because the first time I've flown first in Emirates was in 2010, right? And I've done it, and we're in 2024, even if I've done it less since COVID, basically. I've done it in February, so it's not as if. But you can feel, so I say that, it's not to boast, is that I can see the multiple different versions of first, and the same in business. You can see this slight difference. Sometimes in business, for instance, it's where the plug is located. It's changed over the course of the. In first, is the screen a slightly different size. The little screen on your side, the control thing, not the remote control, but that screen you can lift off if you want. Is smaller and less responsive, and I can feel there's almost probably like 10 different iterations that over time, and fair enough, they've. Every time they would get a new batch of 380s, they will install some enhancements. And so you reach now the level, and I'm not talking about the new first that you have in 777 that one day I will talk about because I've done it in 2019, my God. But you feel a little bit, and surely, the planes that you get at Gatwick are not the latest compared to what you get at Heathrow, probably.
New York
probably.
Like
Probably.
But it was interesting.
Good. I mean, it's really not negative.
It was great. And I was able to drink wine and whiskey that there's no way I would be able to afford otherwise.
I know, man.
And again, like if that was the only thing I could pick as a negative, was that it's slightly less good. I saw their new safety video for the first time. By the end of this trip, I was sick of it. But it's excellent. It's this
is that
very
the one? Which one? Which is it?
No nonsense. Straight to the point,
I've seen it. Yeah.
With subtle little digs at BA and a couple of others, and it's very good because the one thing about Middle Eastern carriers is you watch the thing in Arabic and then you watch the thing in English, and when they do the promotion for the IFE, you watch it. So it can take a while.
Yes, it does
straight to the point. Everything,
Yeah, there's no they didn't go for that. For example, Qatar, last time I took them, because it probably changed, they had the whole thing around the World Cup. So like everything was basically about football, and you have famous players being on the seats and stuff. And you're like, it's fun.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really tell me where the actual stuff is on my seat, for instance, in case of emergency. You know what I mean?
It was a welcome change of pace from what we've been getting thematically over the last, I don't know.
Yeah, the race to getting the most meme-worthy safety video. Yeah,
it's gotten beyond parody at this point. But that experience was great, and I didn't really know what the connection would be like in Dubai. I had 2 and a bit hours, but I was personally met off of the plane by somebody dedicated to me.
But you were still in first on the second leg or not?
No, I was in business.
Probably because you were, but it's probably because you were in first. I had that a few times actually.
It was very like they met this chap was just there for me, not for anybody else. He took me through security, and
he had information from Haneda that you are a diplomat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That would be extremely useful for line cutting. But no, it was a welcome touch because I was getting a little bit antsy. Because Dubai,
but 2 hours is fine. Dubai is heaving as well. What time was it? Was it a late middle of the night?
3 o'clock in the morning, and he said this is the busiest time for this airport.
Always, yeah.
So many connections, and I didn't really know. I don't know that airport well. I still don't know that airport well, and I had no way of judging the distance between ends of terminals and all of that. But he took me and deposited me at the gate, at the lounge right across from my gate, which wasn't the huge, wonderful, massive business class. It was one of the satellite business class lounges. But I was only there for an hour. It was comfortable and easy before jumping on a 777 directly to Cebu. Yeah.
Oh, Cebu. So you landed at Cebu Airport.
Yeah. So your reaction is exactly the same as everybody else I told, because I think it's relatively new, i.e. 2024.
Maybe, I don't know. I know that because I know that Emirates flies to Manila. I know they fly to Clarke. Maybe they stopped that, which is an airport north of Manila. And I think they fly to Cebu, but I don't remember if
everybody that I told in the Philippines that I had come directly from Dubai reacted the same way that you did.
Okay,
oh wow, you didn't know you could do that.
I was wondering if you'd not been either. It could be again Manila or Clarke, and okay, wow, Cebu.
Yeah, so
it must have changed because when I went to Cebu once only when I was living in the Philippines. So it was a domestic flight, and I went to. It was in 2009, so it was only one terminal. I know there's a new one, or at least they've done a second one.
Yeah,
and they refurbished. I don't know because you'll tell us in a minute, but it was it was a basic airport back then. But it's still, in terms of passenger traffic, it's important. It's not such a small, because people, if you don't been in this Philippines, it's a large area.
Yeah.
Because the Philippines is not only about the cities, but also about the area surrounding them when people come through. I was flying, it's an hour flight from Manila to Cebu and back with Philippines Airlines Express, PAL Express. I don't know if that still exists. It was a 300.
Oh, I believe it.
So, meaning it's an important connection. It's not like a random small airport.
I think it's the second busiest airport in the Philippines.
Yes, there you go. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But that flight, I mean, it's the 777s with Emirates. The business class is very different.
It is still the
380. 232 with this sort of not quite lie flat seat. Megan and I experienced it when we went to the Maldives.
Yeah.
But it's still excellent.
But they've announced, obviously, no? They announced a new, it's basically what we have in the 380. I was expecting something.
I was too.
We expect the new business class, a new business class, a new business class. I'm like, the drum rolls are getting louder. And then the reveal is, I'm like, this is exactly what we got on the 380, which is a very good product.
Yeah, it is an excellent
And I'm
product.
sure, and again, Emirates probably was, and then I'm sorry because I'm interrupting your story. No. I think Emirates will try to, they value consistency more than a new, they say, let's have a similar business class across all our fleet. The 350 is coming online now. Instead of say, let's have something with a door that is completely different. So I think that's why they went to that idea of just having the same.
Which
it
is
feels
totally
the same. I've never sat on the new one because it hasn't been released, but it feels very similar to what you have in the 380. Which I understand.
I wonder if there is any overlap in terms of parts.
Probably.
I mean, if that would make sense too. You can understand why they did it.
Such a wide fleet. So
and there's so many airplanes, and that the existing 777 business class product is it's not spectacular.
It's not bad either.
It's not bad at all. I mean, you still have a huge screen, and you've got the detachable one next to you, and
legroom is great.
The legroom is great.
Exactly.
I didn't eat or drink. I just wanted to sleep, and I slept nearly the whole way. The 9 hours.
When I started flying Emirates, I remember that will sound very weird for people. We think that Emirates only has 777s and 380s. In 2010, I flew 340s, and that was the business class that you experienced, that we see in 777. That was the business class, and then suddenly the 380 started coming in line in 2010, actually. So, and that was a new business class. But that was a more traditional, and it's fine. I mean, of course, it's not full AL access, blah, 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 but I think it's fine.
It's comfortable.
It can be a little bit underwhelming if you are, hyped up of like the publicity. It's like all these aircraft. It's like you're getting, is that really?
Yeah. No, it still is really good. And the way that they've done the cabin interior with the fiber optic lighting at night is lovely, and the service was much more Etihad than Emirates. So it was that, but there's such a big cabin that they have to be, they need to be reasonably efficient, even though it's a long flight.
Yeah.
But I slept the whole way, and you're right. Cebu Airport is excellent now.
Oh, good.
It's new. It's very efficient. There was no line at immigration. I was straight through. It was the same on the way back. It's bright and airy. It feels like a modern European airport.
No way. Do you know which terminal we were at? Can you remember? One or two?
I can't remember off the top.
Woody.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the same. I think they probably have refurbished it.
It was so good. Great amenities. I was in a lounge, a little tiny lounge that was like a third-party multi-customer lounge on the way back. It was, I won't dwell on Cebu. It was great. I was only there for, my journey was 44 hours of flying, but I was only in the Cebu for 24 hours.
Right, so you did the speech, you slept, and then you go back to the airport. I've done this kind of stuff. Yeah,
unfortunately, and I'm desperate to go back. But it was a great airport, really efficiently run.
Wow,
lots of interesting airplanes and military stuff going on there.
That's amazing. Because my memory is really acute, small provincial airport. I know it's not provincial, and I got friends in the Philippines. Don't get mad at me, but I remember there was that image stuck in my mind. There was these maybe they still exist, by the way. There was these, the little stores that you have in an airport, And what I always loved in the Philippines, and that you have a lot of course, domestic traffic. They will sell you calamansi juice and stuff that you would just take home to bring to your relatives or to your friends, like as a gift. And there was in the Cebu airport, there was a airport guitar center, and they would sell you guitars.
Yeah,
and I was like, what? I'm like, why would I buy a guitar in the airport? And what?
Yeah,
and all these kind of odd stuff that you would not find at Heathrow, LAX, JFK, or Haneda. Stuff that is very odd that you find in these more small, non-international. I mean, it's international. That's why I could say provincial. Stuff that is in an endearing way when I say provincial. These stores that you would not see anywhere else, and I love that about Cebu. But the rest was dire for me, so I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah,
they've done it because it was really dire.
They've really done a good job, and international and local food outlets and amenities, which was great,
good.
And lots of interesting stuff to look out the window for us AV geeks. But this part will sound familiar.
Uh-huh.
So the way back was Dubai, or was Cebu, Clarke.
Aha. So it was,
So it's this bus loop that goes Dubai, Cebu, Clarke, Dubai, all the same flight number.
There you go. That's probably what the Emirates does these. I remember doing Singapore, Colombo, Dubai, or some sort of
exactly.
These things. Yeah,
exactly.
Nice.
So it was one of those. So you do this short hop up to Clarke, an hour, like you said, just north of Manila.
Yes.
And at that point, I was really interested to see how this worked, because
so that was in a 777.
In a 777 that had come in on the flight that I had come over with, and I was really interested to see how this, like, were we going to have to deplane? What was going to happen here? No, we didn't have to deplane. Lots of people got off. Some people got on. The cabin crew all got off. That was it for them. They had done Dubai, Cebu, Clarke. That was it for them. That's
probably where the switch happens.
The switch happens in Clarke.
Clarke, yeah.
And so those of us that were carrying on to Dubai, we all sat in our seats, and they did the full cleaning, maintenance, recatering, everything. While we're sitting there.
I'm so happy that you said that, so I'm not crazy.
You're not crazy.
Because I had done once the Colombo thing when I was in first, and I was almost asleep, and suddenly there's cleaning crew, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? Why is there cleaning crews while I'm still...
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. I thought they forgot to deplane me. So actually, it's something that happens. It's a policy, I guess, or something.
Everybody needs to see this. Everybody needs to experience it, because it was so impressive to watch.
Right. I was in first, but even so, how quick, thorough,
yep.
And almost it's a process. They know exactly what to do in every seat. Like it's like
orchestrated,
repeated. Exactly.
Yeah. And there were problems like my power outlet didn't work, and I didn't go, my power outlet's not working. I just asked, is it on? And then an engineer came in. He's like, if you wouldn't mind just standing up, goes under my seat, pops the seat cushion up, resets the entire seat, says it'll take about 10 minutes to power back up. Like went off and solved some other problem, came back about 45 minutes later to check on it. But just the thoroughness. And they also did a full security check. The cabin crew were responsible for the security check.
Oh.
So they had to go up and check every overhead bin with flashlights and mirrors to make sure that that nothing untoward was up there or had been left.
Oh.
And we were on the ground for maybe an hour and 15 minutes. It was so impressive, the way that they did it. And I think everybody needs to see the work.
Yeah, As an AV geek, it probably has any word, but it's fascinating.
It was fascinating. I was so impressed by it, and we were up and away on time from Clarke to Dubai. That flight, again, same product, same service. I didn't really eat because it was the middle of the night and I wasn't hungry. But the thunderstorms that we were dodging were spectacular. Nothing will give you a sense of appreciation for Mother Nature than seeing the full ferocity of a late summer Indian thunderstorm. It didn't affect us. There was no turbulence,
It was around you.
Minor. But in the distance, maybe you were 50, 60, 70 miles away.
Yeah, but you see the
lightning would come up and it would be like daylight outside.
Wow.
It was for hours and hours and hours. And I was kind of mesmerized by looking out the window, the magnitude and ferocity of these storms that were going on outside the window. But it was that was an interesting route to take and a great experience to participate in. But this is why I raised my eyebrow about the transit at Dubai.
Go ahead.
We landed in Dubai. My bag was checked all the way through to Gatwick, so I didn't have to worry about that because they had it was the old speaker conundrum. They had very kindly gifted me some local rum.
Right. We get that all the time.
And I couldn't say no because they were such generous and kind hosts. And I was so...
As they are in the Philippines.
Oh my God, what a wonderful people. Then I checked my bag in and they checked it all the way through. But did I get lost? Did I not do this right? But getting from where my plane landed to my Gatwick flight, I felt like I walked halfway across Dubai.
I have an inkling. I cannot say because I've done, of course, first the Dubai flights, the flights to the Philippines from Dubai. It's probably always landing at what they call the concourses. So yes. And Concourse C it's been refurbished. It looks better. It's still a bit more narrow, whatever. Mm-hmm. But clearly, because it's the oldest bit, then you have B, and then the most modern is A. They probably put the less premium destinations there. Yeah. And maybe you were at the very end of C, and then you have to walk all the way to maybe at the beginning of B or even A, taking the train, and then it takes you a good 25 minutes walk.
That's exactly what it was, because my gate back to Gatwick was right next to the massive flagship lounges.
Yeah, so you did basically the entire run of the Terminal 3.
And you go through security again.
Yes,
as well.
Yeah, yes.
But it was a long walk. I didn't have any time to stop in a lounge. And at this point it was 3:00 in the morning. I had been awake for nearly 20 hours at this point.
Oh shit.
And so I was so excited to just sink into my seat on this A380 back to Gatwick.
Were you able to upgrade that one or not?
No. And I could have.
Not that you had to.
But I chose not to because I had intended to fall asleep as soon as the seatbelt sign went off.
Plus, the business class is perfect to sleep. You don't need to have it.
Exactly.
Why would you use miles for that?
Yeah. It's such a comfortable seat for sleeping. Exactly. And if you upgrade for the totality of experience on Emirates.
Exactly.
And I was not interested in doing that. And actually it's funny because you can see in the video, like there's a lot of footage of the first class experience, and I talked about some stuff in Cebu, but like the legs back, especially the final leg, there's nothing, because as soon as that flight went out, the seatbelt sign went off, bed down, and I was out. And actually a lot of other people did the same thing, because I think you'd finished your working day in Dubai, you got on this flight at horrible o'clock in the morning. For them, you want to sleep because you land at 8:00 in the morning in London, and presumably you're going straight to work.
Yeah.
So we all kind of did that. But again, like while we were on the ground waiting, there was a short mechanical delay. The cabin crew were really attentive. They were going and asking everybody, "Would you like us to wake you up for breakfast?" And I was like, "Please, under no circumstances, wake me up for breakfast." And so they didn't. They waited until the last possible moment before they had to wake me up.
That's nice.
And the seatbelt sign was already on at top of descent, which I.
But that's nice. Yeah,
it is.
You actually have your 7 hour. I mean, not 7.
As much as you can possibly extract from that leg, and I did. But landing at Gatwick, Jesus Christ! I don't know if you've experienced this. The A380, a packed Emirates A380 yields quite a lot of luggage.
Yeah.
And so they have 2 belts at the very end of the baggage reclaim.
Right.
And both belts were literally overflowing with bags. And there were bags getting yeeted off of the belt because they'd come down off of the main bag onto the carousel.
Yeah.
And they got on top of another bag and got jammed
Oh my God.
by the mechanism, and they were literally being flung into no man's land where nobody could get to because it was off limits, and it was the moving carousel was between you and where these bags landed.
But that's where you see that you feel the difference between that and Japan. You're like, can you not just find a way that the luggages are properly put on this freaking belt? They just throw stuff at it, and the machine, like you say, kind of supposedly has to stop when
there was no stopping.
Exactly. It just like spits luggage all day long. It just makes no sense. And sometimes the luggage are like you said, over the top. So if you like, you and me were tall, so you can't actually reach them. But some of the luggages are like,
this was gone.
Yeah, and people are like, I cannot. No, it's just it's silly.
it was silly, and it as fond as I think both of us are of Gatwick, it really shows how at capacity that place is.
Yeah, well, yeah, 100%.
And there's nothing anybody can do about it. And of course, because it's two gates, you're sort of straddling, trying to look at both carousels at the same time, going, "Where's my bag going to come out? Which one is it going to appear from?" But overall, it was an excellent, typically
Wonderful.
Good Emirates experience. And I'm going, like I said, I'm going to
India,
and a separate trip, Nepal, trying to.
With Emirates, maybe?
No.
You don't know yet?
I'm going to India on
November.
Virgin there, and Finnair on the way back because I have to go straight through to New York. My Nepal trip, I don't know yet, but I'm hoping I get to do one leg on Emirates at least because it just reminded me how good they were.
Yeah. It's a consistency across such a big fleet that is always impressive to me.
Yeah.
Is that you almost... You know what you're going to get. Yeah, there's going to be slight differences, fine, but it's consistent. Might not always be the best, as in, it's very good. It's always top 5 for me. Might not, one day could be number 4, and one day is number 1, but it's always there.
Yeah.
It's not like one day you say, what was that? It never happens. No. And that's what I find the most impressive. Actually, my brother-in-law took Emirates for the very first time. He went to... He did this famous. There's a train that goes from Tanzania to Zambia.
Oh, wow!
3 days. It took him 7 because it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and he flew there. He had many options. He decided to fly Emirates because he had never flown the 380. And he just did it. He just came back. I saw him yesterday. And first of all, he was in economy. Nothing fancy. And first of all, the 380. He was baffled. He was baffled. He was like, he's traveled. He's gone. He was in Burma during the pandemic, just before the start of the pandemic. He's been to, I don't know, Colombia. He's traveled. It's not like someone who's never been in a plane. But for some reason, because of the destinations he was choosing, he was never in a 380. So this time he said, I can have the opportunity. I really want to go. And it's like, this is this. I said, I don't remember the term he used. He said, it's impossible. For us, we're used to it. But he was like, it's sweet is not a term. Like, it's like everything is so smooth. Mm-hmm. I was like, it's never taken off. And I said, taken off. It's never landed. It's never landed. It's so quiet. It was stuff that we know if you've traveled the 380. But he's like, it was endearing to see someone to tell something that we keep hearing, but we're not sure how different the experience of a 380. I'm not talking about the quality of the seats. I'm not talking about the quality, if it's beautiful or not from the outside. We know that it's not the most beautiful looking aircraft, but how incredibly different it was from everything else he's done. And he was like, this is really incredible. I want to fly it again. Yeah. So first of all that, and then Emirates, he was also very impressive for the banter. So he was in economy, never flown Emirates, never flown a 380. He's downstairs at Gatwick, and he's like, he's talking to one of the crew, says, can I go, they're still boarding. Can I go see upstairs? And the crew is like, no, sorry, we can't. And then he goes to the bathroom, and at the very beginning of the aircraft, where the cockpit is, there's a set of toilets, but there's also a very small office where the head of the cabin, the head of the entire crew has a small office there. And for some reason, she's there, and he sees her, and he says, oh, hi. He starts chatting with her, bantering a bit. He's like, oh, I've never seen upstairs. And she looks at each other like, okay, come with me. Not only he goes up and sees first class in travel. He says, go to the end. You're with me. You're fine. He was able to see the setup of the bar, where in business class, and then Then had a drink there. I mean, again, it's an economy. And then when the plane was supposed to start, taxiing, he went back from the side. There's a little set of stairs going back to his. He even asked, "Can I see the bunk beds?"
Mm-hmm.
And the bunk beds on this model, on this particular aircraft. She said, "It's not interesting in this one because we have multiple different type of 380s, and in this one because that kind of service we never actually sleep. There's nothing, so he didn't get to see that." But I mean. He said that friendliness he experienced from the staff, he has no skyward status, not even like a skyward number, or maybe he did one, was amazing. And so it's something, and then he flew 4 times, obviously, because through Dubai, through Tanzania, to Dar es Salaam. And he was saying again, he was like, "Look, I cannot fault them." And he was in economy, nothing, nothing special, nothing. He was like, it was one of the nicest experiences I ever had in a flight. And I'm
that's
like, okay,
great.
See, and that's how you get people, not us who are like, oh, well, we've flown.
No, you're absolutely right. Now he's an evangelist.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. But it was really endearing to see someone talking about the 318, the experience of flying an aircraft, for someone who's not an av geek, for someone who's just interested in them. He loved it. He loved it. He loved it. He loved it. And I'm not surprised. Just before we close the show off, because we have another 10 maybe. Just a quick word, because I don't know when we're going to do another show when we're going to talk a little bit of the Philippines, but it's interesting because Clarke. So Naha, you've never been to Manila. Manila, the airport is basically in the city. I'm exaggerating a bit, but it's in the city. There's maybe 45 million passengers a year. I told the story many times. There's 3-4 terminals actually. It's a mess, Terminal 3, which is the newest one, it was closed for 6-7 years because of corruption. So it was sitting there. When I was living there, I could see it. It was never open. They finally opened like in 2014 or something. That's where you'd probably get now. Terminal 1, which was the one I remember. It's raining inside, so they refurbished it. Terminal 2. Anyway, the point is that and that's very Philippine. They said we need a better airport. And for a decade, for like 10 years, 2014 to now, they've been battling over where is going to be the next big Manila airport. Clarke was the prime successor for a while. It's in the north of Manila, but they say we have room to build a very big airport because it's a U.S. base. It's a military base, actually, Clarke, right? Huge base, and then we do a fast train. So Filipino style, because I'm making the story short, they're building basically 3 new Manila airports. So they're gonna refurbish the current Manila one, the one that you see one day. They're gonna start refurbishing it to expand it to, I think, maybe 70 million passengers a year. They're gonna improve Clarke, the one you've seen, to 110 million passengers a year. Wow. And they're gonna build in between Clarke, where you were, and Manila itself, which is a huge, sprawling mega city. They're going to build a new airport, which they started to build, actually. It's not there. It's not a promise. They started to build in Bukalakan. I'm not sure the name. I don't have it in front of me. I'm just talking about memory here. For 200 million passengers a year. So wow. It's very... So do they have that capacity over a long time? Yes. I'm not sure. I think right now Clarke is being underutilized, as in it's too big for the number of people that are flying there. And the other one, that new one, that is not existing yet, will be kind of close, and it'll be 200 million passengers a year capacity. I'm very looking forward to look at all these new airports, but I'm like, you're building, it's crazy, man. And they also, 3 different conglomerates. That's why I'm saying it's very Filipino. Of course. Because all these families, they all came up with their own plans. And we'll have brand new airports, and here in the UK, we'll still look at the same Heathrow. I cannot tell you, man. Wow. Well, yeah, but I hope you go back. Yeah,
I do. Yeah, I can't wait. It's
fascinating country to visit. And it's beautiful, and the people are absolutely. They're very hospitable, very nice.
Yeah,
so I'm sure you've experienced that with your speech. Look, we're going to close the show unless it's because you've done 2 big trips. I don't think it requires you to do another one. I don't know, guys, we're going to record. So I'm going to fly to New York next week. I'm going to stay a week. I was supposed to stay longer, but I have another thing, which is the Max story, which is, let's say, not 100%. It's almost confirmed today, October the 7th, but I'm still, because it's a complicated trip, I'm not gonna tell anything about it. And but yeah, I'm gonna fly in a no-fly zone. So yes, and so Alex, what are your next trip? You just told us you're gonna go to India.
Yeah, I'm going to Mallorca on Wednesday.
Oh, Mallorca, that's not in India. Or maybe it is.
I'm sure there's a Mallorca in India, but yeah, no, I'm going to Mallorca
just for a quick trip, or
yeah, Megan's birthday. So
nice. I haven't been to Mallorca in a while. It's a nice.
I've never been, so I'm looking forward to it.
Who are you flying with?
EasyJet there, BA back.
Why? Just because it was
just
cheaper.
Worked out cheaper, and the timings. Yeah.
There's a show actually called I don't know. I just call it. It's called the Mallorca Files. It's on Amazon Prime, and if you like, because I do, if you like shows like you remember Magnum PI, all these kind of old. This is not that old, but the feel and the vibe is like a show done currently in Europe with. She's Brit, is German, but it has that feel that, an era where stuff was not complicated. Mm-hmm. And I love that show. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. If you want to watch, it's a good show to watch in a plane, for instance. Download it. So Mallorca and then India.
And then in India, yeah.
Where about?
Flying to Delhi and then taking the train with my brothers up to Shimla in the Himalayas. Yeah.
Oh, that's a trip for the family, for the brothers.
Yeah, like a little Darjeeling Limited pilgrimage.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
that's why you're going to end up in Nepal.
No, and then I'm going to go back to Nepal in a few weeks.
Okay, well,
for a separate trip.
Hopefully learn about that in a coming episode.
Yeah.
If I where's the music? Fucking know which one it is. This one. If I make it back. Well, that was nice. Thank you, Alex, for being here, and because it's really nice to do it with you, because I don't have to prepare anything, which would have been very impossible otherwise to do an episode.
Well, I'm sorry, I've been
no, don't. So long. We'll do one maybe in November. Let's see.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. On that, guys. I want to thank you, all of you, for all the messages you keep sending us. It's very nice. You know how it's strange now with everybody scattered, like people are on Blue Sky and Threads, and it's impossible to track. I know people are writing to us. Sorry we've not been on the air, and but thank you. I keep reading, and I'm very happy that you're sending us these messages. So keep tuning, and happy travels.
Safe travels, guys.